to all those above me that watch over me, to all of you, my fave parapeeps on this side of the veil, welcome. This is Shawn Whittington's Paranormal Ministry Live 2.0. I'm your host, Shawn Whittington. I'm a seminarian in the United States Old Catholic Church, and I'm coming to you live from my haunted house, my very haunted house, where I live. Been quiet today. Yep, dream catcher, moving a little bit. Been quiet today, though. Been quiet for a couple of days, spirit wise. And I don't know if this has anything to do with spirit or not. What hasn't been quiet is my Facebook life. Uh, this is me, the real me. I'll get this out of the way real quick because I kid you not, in the last few days, I've received about 1,000 messages, either emails, text messages, messages to my website, messages to Sharon's Facebook profile. My my original main Facebook profile, I tried to log on to it one day and it was just gone. I'm telling you, just gone. Had several people try to find it, just gone. Don't know if Facebook did it. I did something to upset them and they did it. Don't know. Don't know if a hacker got in there and once he or she got in there, realized there wasn't much they could do and just decided to be very annoying and deactivated it. Sent several messages through different, avenues of communication to try to reach out to Facebook. They haven't returned any of my messages, so I don't know what happened. But my original profile, Shawn Whittington Seminarian, is gone. So I had to start operating out of another profile of mine that I've had for many, many years, Lawrence Morais. And that profile is a tribute to my parents, Lawrence Whittington and Edith Morais. But I just went ahead and added my name on the back end of that in parentheses, Shawn Patrick Whittington. So that's where I'm at now. So for everybody that's wondering what happened to me, what happened to my profile, did I get abducted? Did I go to heaven? I'm okay, guys. But you can find me now at Lawrence, Lawrence, Morace, Morace, Shawn Patrick Whittington. And if you're one of those people that want to remain, that were a friend of mine and want to remain friends and stay in contact, go over there. Send me a Facebook friend request and I'll pull you back into the loop. Everything's new. This show page is new. My paranormal, um, my introduction to spiritual warfare page is new. The only page that's the same is the Ghost Be Gone of all things, because I think my wife was the one that created that, and so that page was untouched. So it is what it is. Um, there you go.
Yeah, and just to let everybody know, we are working on it. We have put something out to Facebook to let them know that, hey, we've got a problem. There's a Zach out there that's not this one that is messing with us. Just please be careful and vigilant, and don't be accepting stuff from like his old pages, because we don't want anybody else to get hacked. As soon as we get any reply from Facebook, we will let you know, okay? And it'll be coming from the new pages. Please also spread it around. Let people know that we've moved. We'll probably use our best judgment on whether we're going to go back to the old profile if we get it figured out or not. I'd say we just move forward on this one, but we'll see what happens. So, and Shawn, I just wanted to let you know that we have a guest today. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah. So
we were having some issues, and she hadn't gotten here by the time we went live. So I was
concerned
about her.
Yeah, and then that producer of yours kind of forgot what he was doing. I mean, he's been off for so long, and it's like,
I hear you.
Oh wait, he's supposed to be on air, huh? So, well, I was doing other things. I was fishing.
Very good, man. Very good. All right, so we do have a show today. Apparently Angela got here. God bless her. I'm glad. I was worried about her. So let me do the prayer urn real quick. You know what? Before I do a prayer, before I look at this prayer request, I want to tell you guys a quick little story. You guys are going, when I realized my Facebook profile disappeared, the first thing that came to me was a little story that my bishop had told me, like the day before. Weird. He told me, and I'm going to get the story totally wrong, but this is the gist of it. He told this story about this old man with just his donkey and his chicken traveling through a forest back in the day and during dangerous times. And he decided it's nightfall, and he decides to stop. And he ties his mule up, and I don't know what he does with his chicken. I don't know if you put a chicken on a leash. And he starts a fire, and he's bedded down for the night. Well, a big wind comes through the forest and blows his fire out, and then some wild animals come into the his little campsite and eat his donkey and eat his chicken. And the whole time, every time something happens, he just says, well, something to the gist of, if it be God's will, it's okay. I take that as, things happen for a reason. Sometime during the night, while he was sleeping in the dark, some soldiers from a nearby city came walking through the forest. Had his fire been burning and his mule there to go, hee-haw, I added that part, and his chicken to cluck, cock-a-doodle-doo, the soldiers would have known he was there and they would have killed him. But they didn't know he was there because there was no fire, no animals, and he was asleep, and the soldiers just moved on through. So that's what this is all about, guys. Things happen for a reason, and for me, I'm a big let go, let God type of guy, and life goes on. So it is what it is. So, okay. That's my big story. Okay. Betty T from Colorado. Hey, Zach, Betty's from Colorado. I don't know where. Could you light a candle for me and offer up a prayer to everyone's guardian angels? Go ahead, Zach. Do you have something you want to tell me about?
No, I was just best place to be from.
Yeah, she didn't say where. She just said she's in Colorado. Very cool.
It's actually, it's like Kansas is a great place to be from, far away from.
Betty, that's a beautiful request. Of course I will. Here we go. This candle is for everybody that can see me, and within the sound of my voice, I light this candle for all of your guardian angels. And may the Holy Spirit enter and intervene in each and every one of your lives and remain with you on this journey and on to the next. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. And this candle will continue to burn for each and every one of you and your guardian angels till it is done burning. And she's also asking for a guardian angel prayer. You know what? I do have a beautiful guardian angel prayer in one of these books. Okay, here it is. Here's a good one. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. O angel of God, my holy guardian, given to me from heaven, enlighten me this day and save me from all evil. Instruct me in doing good deeds and set me on the path of salvation. Amen. Obviously, you guys know I'm also a big believer in guardian angels. I think I've seen mine 3 times, and all 3 times she appears as a girl, has saved my life. You have to pray to them often. Don't forget them. And if you need their help, they're waiting for you to ask, but you got to ask. So if you need some help from your guardian angel, ask. Thank them a lot and pray to them often. Okay? Let's check the mailbag real quick. And if this is a question that my guest can answer too, I'll keep it out for my guest. Michael B. from Arizona. Michael, how's it down there, brother? You're close to me. I'm currently living There you go. I'm currently living on the surface of Mars. I am too. That's why the lights are off in here, guys. It's 115 outside, and it's just brutal. Just as some believe thunderstorms increase paranormal activity due to the atmospheric energy, can extreme heat do the same? Absolutely. I do believe in that. And that will be something I might run past my guest today. I used to go out in the middle of the summer to Death Valley Junction to investigate at the old Amargosa Opera House and Hotel, which is extremely haunted back in the day. And this would be like, it'd be like 125 degrees out there in Death Valley Junction when we would go. And it was just miserable. I used to be a fair weather ghost hunter. If it was too cold or too hot, you wouldn't find me out there doing it because you got to be comfortable too. Sometimes you're at a location all night long, just sitting there waiting for something to happen. No sense in freezing to death or, dying of heat stroke. But I do believe both are, whether it's extremely cold, heat is energy, or extremely hot, that can contribute to giving an energy source to spirit to use to increase the activity and be more active? That's a great question, Michael. And yes, I'm on the same surface of the same planet as you, and it's hot here in the Southwest. But we're going to get a little relief Monday, I hear, and next week.
Hey, I wanted to bring up something about that. Our show Footprints Forward last week, which is going to be playing on the PAC channel as soon as this is done, we had a veterinarian on.
Oh, really?
An emergency veterinarian on, talking about how the number for veterans committing suicide is rising. So I would ask you to say a prayer for them, and make sure that we take care of our service industry people. And remember that, the person before you could have been an evil person. So please make sure that you take care of them. But they were talking about, if it's over 85 degrees, make sure that your animals are not outside for more than 5 minutes. Okay. Do not leave them outside. It's very, very dangerous for them. I specifically asked them about that because of how hot it is right now in the world. So, and I know that you have multiple animals, and yourself and your beautiful wife work in the animal world. That's something that we need to make sure that we're doing and watching out for our fuzzy friends. So, absolutely. But if it's over 85 degrees, do not leave those animals out for more than 5 minutes.
Absolutely. Good job, brother. Yeah, I if it's really, really super hot outside, go out on your driveway and walk around barefooted for a few minutes and see if it's too hot for your feet, it's too hot for their paws. And yeah, I've always been the kind of guy that has always had an extra, extra large doggy door that my animals can come and go. If they want to lay out in the sun, great. If they want to lay out in the frigid weather, great. But they can come in if they want to. Always have plenty of fresh water available to them. Now, my cats are a different story. I can't bring them in because my dog will eat them. And I've got 5 main outdoor cats out there that live here. So what we do is we have like a dozen water bottles that are frozen in the freezer at night. Now, these are just now blocks of ice. And in the mornings, we put them all scattered out around our front porch. And it's funny, the cats will come and lay on them as pillows, lay on them as a bed, or lay up against them, or just lay there and put their paws on them. They know. So I've got all these ice bottles out there, and I'm out there probably 3 times a day dumping their water and putting fresh cold water that I have from the fridge for just my animals. I'm that guy. So it is what it is. Yeah, I'm out there with this huge cold jug from the fridge filling up their water bottles. But it is what it is. You gotta, you gotta do what you gotta do with the animals. All right, guys. The reason why you all tuned in. I love my guest. I respect her. She's so cool. She's so gifted. She's so talented. And on and on and on. So without further ado, critically acclaimed, world renowned psychic portrait artist, one of the most gifted people I know. You guys are going to love her. And those of you that already know her are here because you already love her. Please give a big, warm Paranormal Ministry family welcome to the one and only Angela Bowley.
Hi. Thank
what
you.
are you doing? You look very pretty today. How you feeling?
Oh, feeling good. It's hot here. It's very hot here.
Where are you at?
I am in Kimballton, Ohio.
Oh my God,
And
humid.
it is very humid, and we just had a torrential downpour, which doesn't help
Oh
with the
no.
humidity at
That's
all.
brutal. That is really brutal. I
It
mean,
is.
isn't I could be wrong. I don't have a map in front of me. Isn't Ohio right next to Pennsylvania?
Yes, Pennsylvania on one side, Indiana on the other side, and then Kentucky below us and Michigan above us.
Yeah, my wife, born and raised in Pennsylvania, had to actually move out west because of her asthma because it's just too humid there. She actually died once from an asthma attack, and they had to bring her back. So yeah, humidity is brutal. It doesn't have to be 115 degrees. It can be 90 degrees and 80% humidity, and that's
Mm.
brutal. That's people die from that.
Yeah, so when I'm doing CrossFit, I've been kind of cutting back on that because after when it's humidity's high, I'm useless and to try and exercise in that type of heat. My body just doesn't
Oh
react
yeah.
well. So I just try to stay hydrated, take a ride on my bicycle because I can just leisurely go along, not exert myself seriously, but just burn some calories and try to stay cool. Just drink as I go and
Well, people ask me all the time. So, well, it's a dry heat where you're at. So 115 degrees, 115 is 115, but thank God, we have like 20% humidity. So it is a dry heat because if it wasn't, that would be brutal. But oh well. Anyway, what do I want to? I do have some questions for you today. Zach loaded up some new portraits he sent us. I'm going to pull those out pretty soon here and have you show everybody your new portraits and talk about how the spirit came to you. These questions I'm going to ask you, though,
mm-hmm.
actually are from fans and followers of yours that sent in to me this week. Once I advertised you were coming on, people started sending in questions for my guests so that people have made my job here so easy. So, this must be somebody that knows you pretty well. They want to know, have you been on any paranormal investigations lately? And do you enjoy that?
Yes, I did go on one that was like a mini paranormal investigation at the Anchorage Mansion in Marietta, Ohio. It's a beautiful Italian villa style mansion built in the 1700s. It has a service course, has 3 floors, a very large attic, a very big basement. And I actually, one of the portraits I did is from a spirit that was visiting there. Now, there were a lot of family members that are at the Anchorage Mansion. Their spirits are there, and they're all very friendly. They're all very polite. And the one that I sent you was one I encountered in the basement, and she was there for a very specific reason. It was more for educational purposes, and she wanted to, give her life experience to us for history to treasure what had happened to her. And you'll see that when the portrait. No, I'll go more into her story once that portrait comes up because she is related to the Underground Railroad, and
Wow.
a lot of that is not on official records for whose house was on the Underground Railroad here in Ohio, but there were a lot of places that had that type of network that were helping and were risking their lives and helping slaves escape. And some were going to Canada and they stopped here in Ohio.
That's a wonder. We're going to get into that. That's going to be a great story. I want to ask you this. And this is coming to me as you're talking. I know psychics that don't like to ghost hunt. I know psychics that love it. I know teams, paranormal teams, that won't be caught dead with a psychic on their team. And I know teams, I'm one of them, that find a truly gifted psychic invaluable to have on your team. Um, Address all of that, if you will. I know I just laid a bunch on you, but address um, psychics either liking ghost hunting or not, psychics liking to be on a team or not, and teams, whether the teams that don't want to have them and the teams that love having a psychic on them.
Well, one thing I want to address first. So, for far as liking paranormal investigations, I really enjoy it because every time I go, I learn something new. And no matter how long I've been doing this, I encounter somebody new. I learn something new, especially when I'm going to a new location I've never been before. And when I'm there, it's like there's a new piece of history I like to connect to. Right, you're actually speaking with the people who were part of it. I always find that very exciting. And I think as psychics, you would want to do that because you want to be able to use your gifts. And every time you use your gifts become stronger, become more validated. And there's gratitude, not just from the spirit side, but from the living as well, especially if there are people that are living there or working there and they have interaction with spirit, but they don't have our gifts. So they don't know how those spirits feel about their presence there. You're being a blessing. You're being that blessing. So I don't want to be somebody missing out on the blessing that goes both ways, both for the spirit and for the living. As far as teams that would like to exclude psychics, I would say give psychics a chance because you could have an experiment where you're just relying on your equipment and pure observation, non psychic observation, on maybe one half of the building, and then having your psychic on the other side, and or have your people go in non psychically, gather information, see what you get without a psychic, then go in with the psychic and compare the difference. That would be a true thorough study of a haunted location because you'd have a something that is measurable, that you can get information from. Here's what we got non-psychically. Here's what we picked up with the psychic. And I think you will find overall, for those teams that do use psychics, they do get better evidence and their work is more efficient because the psychic would say, hey, I'm pulled over here, and then maybe a lot of activity in that spot, and they don't have to waste their time trying to do a grid pattern, trying to cover the whole area when they can just go to the spot that's active. And at the same time, I don't want to be one of the team that relies on psychics too much, because even I, as a psychic, if I go into a place, I would like to have my findings backed up with something that's non-psychic, like a tool or an independent observer. Maybe there's security cameras, other things like that that validate what I'm getting. And then you can also have that person not tell me anything about the location, and the caseworker be able to validate by looking through the records what I'm getting is valid. What I'm experiencing, what the spirit is telling me is true. I really enjoy that. Now, as far as energy, and you were saying earlier about storms. There was a question about storms and the energy that would come through. Now, my experience is that just before a storm hits, so about 2 hours before a storm hits, that's where you're going to get the most energy, because long before the storm hits, it pushes energy out in front of it. And it's actually measurable. It's very high EMF. It's more, my understanding, it's more EMF than a city can produce. With all of its electronics, it's pushed out of a typical storm. And anything in front of that storm is going to pick it up. In fact, my first apparition that I saw was just before a tornado hit.
Wow.
So, and it was so solid, I thought somebody had actually left their loved one out there in a casket in their front yard. Until I did some research later, and that person disappeared. That happened just literally minutes before the tornado hit. So, there's a tremendous amount of energy that takes the storm that produces a tornadic event that it pushes in front of it. So I'm sure that,
I know I'm going to probably get hate mail for this, but I'm and you might even find this funny. I think, well, I'm a big, you know me, I love psychics. If they're truly gifted, my wife's truly gifted. She hates it when I call her a psychic, but like I take her on investigations and she's invaluable. But here's the thing. What I find interesting about truly gifted psychics, let's say you take 10 of them and each one of them is truly gifted. Each one will have a different approach to how they communicate with spirit and how spirit communicates with them, which one I find fascinating. And two, I can't tell you, I could never tell you without looking at my records how many times this has happened. But a lot of times I've been on cases where the spirit there thanked us for bringing along someone that they could communicate with, that they were tired of having these people come in there over and over and over again, wanting them to knock on the wall or turn the flashlight on or off or roll the ball back to them. That's not communicating. That's asking the spirit to perform like a circus trick.
Right.
And I know some ghost hunters are going to get mad at me for saying that, but that's the truth. You should be there to help. Not
Yeah.
only if the spirit's in an abandoned location, you're there to help the spirit. But if the spirit's in a home and it's upsetting people there, you're helping now two people. You're helping the families or the homeowners, and you're helping the spirit. The spirits want to communicate. Now I'm going to ask you a question,
Mhm.
and then we'll get back to your fan questions here. But how do you feel about that? Do you let we all have free will, even on the other side. If you
Mhm.
choose not to go to the light and cross over to heaven because for whatever reason your energy wants to remain here for a little bit longer, you still in that state of mind you still have or state of spirit I should say, you still have free will. Do you let the spirit decide if they're ready to move on because they really don't belong here any longer. They're of the ages now. They're of the spirit world. Do you let them still decide, or do you try to convince them that it really is better for them to move on? How do you handle that?
I give them the option of crossing over, and then what I do is I ask for heaven to present itself to the spirit.
That's
I
beautiful.
usually ask the Blessed Mother to come in, and or I just ask for a ball of light to come down and just show them what they have to look forward to. And when they see what they have to look forward to, they usually cross over, or somebody they know they love welcomes them, comes out of that light and says, "Won't you come over here?" Now, for example, there was a spirit of an elderly lady, and her husband came and offered her to go on a date on the other side. And that was just so awesome. I mean, he's like, he had the restaurant and everything, and he's got flowers, and he's like, will you please go out with me? you know,
That's
and
so cool.
it's so romantic. I was that's just so romantic. He's got
True love. It's on
truly,
the other side of the veil.
yes,
Probably so much more than we can even imagine or put into words.
right.
What that love is like over there. That is a wonderful, wonderful story. Wow. Okay, more questions from your fans. Okay, this is a good one. I wrote this one down because this is something I probably would have asked you. Psychic gifts to portrait artists.
Mhm.
How does that happen? I mean, like I don't know if you've ever stumbled onto my website. There is a page on my website where I have paintings,
Mhm.
and she's going to get mad for me for saying this. I don't give it up on the website, but my second oldest sister painted those. She's very gifted, and I believe she won't admit to this, but I believe she gets her talents and things that come to her that she puts down onto the canvas from spirit, but she'll never admit that. Maybe she would one day admit it. But if you go there and look at her paintings, they're like yours, and it's what she gets from spirit. Um, Not every psychic is talented, a talented painter. Were you a painter before you realized you were psychic, or were you psychic then realized you had the gift of being an artist? How did all that happen and work out
Oh,
for you?
I mean, when I died, came back, and I realized I had these something different about me. So intuitively,
Have you told me
but
that story? You
yeah,
died once?
yes, I told you that about I died and I was sent back because the coroner was sent to get me. There was no chance of me coming back, and then God just performed a miracle and sent me back with these gifts. And also, I've always had a tendency to create art, but it wasn't until I got older that I started to combine the two. And that was because I was drawn to first do portraits of pets. It was sort of my way of learning how to connect my psychic abilities with the art, because I found that when I was doing pet portraits, I was tuning into the pet. And when I would talk to the pet owner and I would tell them the kind of energy and personality I was getting off the pet just from a photograph, and they would be shocked at just how amazed and how accurate I was able to describe their pet's personality and behavior just from a photograph. And from there, I started to go into more spirits. When I joined a paranormal team, spirits would visit me before I would go to the location. So then I would start to paint those portraits of the spirits that were visiting me before I went to the location. I think the pet portrait was just a way for me to learn how to tune into the energy and learn how to relax to allow that energy to flow through me. And now it's so natural for me. It's not even so much of an effort to do it. I just sit down, and as soon as I start painting, the energy comes. And I notice a difference compared to where I'm just trying to paint on my own with something else out of my own mind versus spirit doing the work and the influence in communicating that energy for me. It's a world of difference.
I hate to put I hate to put words in a spirit's mouth, but if I was a spirit, and I believe that people like you look different to spirit than how I
Mm-hmm.
may look to spirit. So if I'm a spirit and I gravitate towards you because I know that you can communicate with me, and then all of a sudden I'm watching you take our communication and put it on canvas, something physical that people can see, I would love that. I would think that that would be so cool. I'd be calling all my ghost friends over to watch this lady. You get in line, get your
Yeah.
portrait. Um, well, you know what? I don't want to run out of time and not get to them. So while we're on the topic, we might as well get to some of your portraits. I
Mm-hmm.
know you sent, I believe, 5 of them to Zach,
Yes.
and he loaded them up. I'll just have him decide which ones he wants to throw up, and as they come up, you take it and tell us how you came about getting your uh, that the energy to. That's an interesting one.
Yes. So this one is a portrait of a serial killer. So I met a man who is a game designer, and his name is Jeff Egorowski, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. And he is with Scorpion's Lair game system, and his game theme was about educating people on serial killers to not only to prevent becoming a victim and also raise awareness in communities of potential victims and get, of course, this brings law enforcement involved. He's doing great work because even the FBI has come to him in private and noticed the communities he's been able to um, gather around to solving previously cold cases that could have been victims of a serial killer. Now, right after I met him, Ted Bundy came to me and introduced himself to me, and then also Jeffrey Dahmer. And he introduced to me in a dream, but Jeffrey Dahmer and one of his victims, a previously unknown victim, came in together in a dream. I was in a building, in the basement of this building, and Jeffrey Dahmer's walking by, and this previously unknown victim, this man, just starts screaming at me, "There's a serial killer! There's a serial killer!" He leaves, and then Jeffrey Dahmer walks up to me, and he tried to harm me, but he couldn't. He found he had no power over me. But I communicated from Dahmer and also through the victim, but Dahmer in particular, the nature of his afterlife suffering, and his energy is extremely chaotic. I could tell that he had um, multiple psychosis issues. I can also tell uh, what he was feeling, what type of energy that he came with. And this is what came in. So this is both reflecting of the kind of punishment he's enduring in his afterlife. And it's also a reflection of the psychological trauma and psychosis that he experienced while alive. And it's very chaotic, as you can see by this artwork, and all the hooks where he's essentially not off the hook for anything that he did in his life. There is accountability that he has to for the pain and suffering that he inflicted on other people. But there's also a tearing apart, um, a reducing to nothing over and over again for what he did. And of course, the victim stayed with me. I heard his voice not only in the dream, but when I woke up and I had spirit box going, and I listen to it sometimes just to fall asleep to. I actually heard the same voice over the spirit box said, "Oh Jesus, Dahmer's here, Dahmer's here." And when I was falling asleep without the box, I also heard the same voice, "Dahmer, he's still here." But this victim made me feel extremely afraid. He showed me the basement. There was a bar that they went into. It was a basement bar. It was out on a public sidewalk. You would walk down the steps, open this heavy door, and they were there together alone. And he even told me what year it was. I believe he said it was 1982 or 19. Yeah, I think it was like 1982 or 1984. I put it in my notes. I have to go back and look. But they were there together, and the victim realized something wasn't right, and he felt like really uncomfortable, and he had to leave, and he tried to rush out to the door, and then Jeffrey just went ahead of him and stopped him from opening the door.
Wow.
But he gave me lots of detail, and the victim eventually found peace because I kept working and talking to the victim in regards to this previously unknown victim, and he has since crossed over. He's experiencing peace now.
Good.
But yeah, definitely, I wanted to put that out there because even as grim as and violent that is, that we please let you understand, it's not something glorifying the serial killer. It's something that trying to make people understand the severity of this. And there was a very strong message, in particular for Dahmer, where he felt like he did not get what he needed to become a decent human being, if that makes sense. It felt like
totally
that he was not given the same opportunity or attention that he should have gotten for all of the mental illnesses that he was enduring, the suffering that he was enduring, that kind of led him down this path.
Well, let's take a look at another one. That's a beautiful painting. Oh, that's a nice one too.
Now, this one is a conventional portrait when somebody just sends me a photograph to paint from and they want me to paint from the photograph. But I still use spirit in any time of my portraits and tune into the energy of the people and just let the energy flow through. So sometimes I don't even have to look at the photograph. I just let the energy go through, and the energy tells me what I should paint and how should I approach this and what colors to use and the proportions and everything. And this is just an example of that. Even from a conventional standpoint, I will still rely on spirit and channel spirit energy, even of the living people, in order to make sure that painting comes out the way it needs to and conveys all the emotions, the presence and personalities of the people I'm painting.
Very, very cool. Next one.
This is the one from the Anchorage mansion that I picked up from the basement. Her name is Beth. She was an escaped slave. She told me her plantation that she escaped from was from North Carolina, and she was headed towards Canada. And she told me that for her portrait, to make sure to make her eyes look sad, because she said there was just so much anxiety on her journey, that she was constant anxiety, constantly worried, constantly fearful. And she said, remember to tell people about my bonnet. My bonnet saved my life. She said that she would take her bonnet and dip it in water, not only to keep cool, but she would dip it in water and would squeeze a few drops of water out of it to drink if she had to be on the run very quickly, where she just couldn't stay. And she knows somebody could be right there, ready to capture her at that moment if she just didn't take off. And she is at the Anchorage mansion. She is there in visitations only. She has crossed over, but it was all the talk of the Underground Railroad, and she felt the love and the attention of the people there, going into that history and emphasizing the Underground Railroad and its importance and its significance and the experience of people on the Underground Railroad that brought her, that she wanted to communicate. When we were in the basement and I was investigating the place, and I asked her, do you want a portrait done? Everybody that was around me all got shivers down their spine. That's an indication for me from spirit that, yes, they want me to do their portrait. So I did her portrait. Now, that is on the very first room as you walk into the Anchorage. You'll see her portrait sitting right there on the front desk.
That's cool. That's very cool. All right, next one. That's scary.
That's Ted Bundy. And Ted Bundy, He came through in a dream again after I met Jeff, and he would not leave me alone. And I had to sit down and tell him, "You need to back off, and you need to leave me alone. I will paint for you when I'm ready to paint for you, and you are not going to cross any boundaries with me." And I painted exactly the suffering that he was showing that he is enduring in his afterlife. So when I posted this, there were comments of people saying that this painting makes me genuinely fearful for my soul, because as you see, he gets burned up, and then his flesh reforms and it's burned up again and again and again and again.
Wow. You and I have had this discussion before. The hell is real, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll talk about that one day. That's an interesting one. That's more of a looks more of like just a sketching.
Yes, I actually did that. This is from one of my spirit portraits where I sit down about 15 or 20 minutes and do a reading and paint a portrait of what I'm seeing. So this woman that I did this reading for, she like was picking a lot of German heritage, and there was a spirit with her of a man in a German uniform, but from World War I, with the pickle. I think they called it Pickelheimer helmet, and he would not talk to me unless I spoke to him in German first. So when I
Wow.
spoke to him in German, he started to talk to me in English, and he had me paint this. Now, it wasn't the original image that he showed me, but he took control and had me show this. And the reason is he says that World War I in particular is like a generational curse for people of German heritage, because that war was about ego. It was not a war about defense. It wasn't a war about any type of noble cause. It was more like just a waste of human life and violence. And it was just something that is a kind of a scourge for people of German heritage. And instead of her aura just seeing colors and shapes, I kept seeing images of World War I, and I picked up that a feeling of a bayonet stuck in my chest as
Hmm.
well. And I was told by the spirit that I was chosen to make sure to create all these images from the spirits of World War I. So I'm going to do a very large painting that shows that it kind of expresses everything that they want to show about that conflict. And it's going to end up releasing spirits, because when they see everything that's expressed for them, that sorrow, that suffering, that pointlessness, it feels like it releases it gives them something that they can feel relief about and cross over about. So I will be definitely be doing a World War I theme, very large painting with quite a bit in it.
Very, very cool. You're so talented. Very cool. Those were all amazing. Really amazing. Um, I'm feeling people are wanting to know this. If somebody wants to buy, first of all, let me let everybody know how they can reach you. I have Angela Bowley, Psychic Portrait Artist Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have your website of the same name, but it's kind of interesting how you log on to that. It's the letter A, the word super squirrel, one word, dot wixsite, WIXSITE.com/. Angela Bowley Portrait A, letter A, all one word, and that gets you to the website.
Yes.
And you've got all of these paintings there,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean a lot, not just these five, but many, many, many. Um, can they be purchased? And if someone were to I think your paintings are like they either a particular painting either speaks to a person or it doesn't. And I believe if someone looks at your paintings and there's something about a particular piece of artwork that you've done that speaks to that person and they want to purchase it, of course, if it's available and for sale, that there's something going on there and they should purchase it because for whatever reason it's meant for them or
Mm-hmm.
they need to have that painting. So address possible address people wanting to if they want to purchase your paintings what they should do, and then address energy that might be attached to these, good or bad, and how they could prevent having any bad psychic side effects themselves from purchasing an object that might have some bad energy attached to it.
And so, if you're interested in purchasing paintings, just message me on my Facebook page, Angela Boley, Psychic Portrait Artist, and then I'll get right back to you. And the energy, when I paint a portrait, I infuse all of my portraits with love. I always ask that love energy be filling all my portraits. So whether it's a dark subject matter or it's a little bit more cheerful, it's going to have love in it. Now, as far as objects that have a dark energy attached, my experience has been, because I do have a doll that has a demonic attachment. My experience has been is to put crystals all around that object, and for some reason it tires them out. It's like giving them a downer, and they can't do anything. They just slow down and they can't manifest. That's what I recommend for haunted objects. Now, what I find in particular, dolls are very strong vessels. It seems like you cannot unattach them from that object if it's a doll. Now, with something like a piece of furniture, a painting, that's not as difficult. If it's a human spirit, you can ask them to move on. And I have been told and led by spirit to bind some beings and just send them under the earth and bind them and just ask that God will hold them there until their time for judgment is to come. Because there's just some spirits that are just so harmful, and I think maybe the best word may be toxic. And you just need to make sure that they're set aside somewhere so they can't continue to be toxic to the living, and they have to be put there until God decides what their ultimate fate is going to be.
Very, very interesting. Yeah, I do a lot of binding. I get sent a lot of objects, and then I bind them here in the house. And that's important too. You know, so that is very, very cool. I know you have a lot of events coming up. I was up early and I saw something you had posted, I believe, yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
a video reel of some events you got coming up. Because you're one of the people I can count them on both hands. People that whenever the show's over, they want to know how can I see her in person or get a portrait done
Mm-hmm.
or go watch her work or what has she got going on. So I want to make sure everybody knows of the events you got coming up. If they live near you, great. If they have the ability to travel, well worth it to come and see you. But talk to people about some of the events you got coming up.
So on August 6th, I will be at the Lafayette Hotel in Marietta, Ohio. That's on 101 Front Street. A psychic and holistic health fair is going to be in one of the ballrooms or conference rooms at the Lafayette Hotel. The Lafayette Hotel has a reputation of being haunted, and Marietta is the oldest city in Ohio. It has a lot of haunted history. So it's something that's definitely you're going to enjoy.
You're going to be busy.
I'm going to be busy. So I'll be
Yeah.
there from about noon to 5 p.m., and that's on a Sunday. Also, if you look at your calendar, it's going to be August 6th. That's on a Sunday. Then on the 12th, I will be at the Anchorage Mansion. That's on 424 George Street in Marietta, Ohio. And it's a beautiful, beautiful mansion. Now, keep in mind, there's going to be a very large boarded up mansion in front, but there's this little alley. You drive up this little alley, this little road that goes up to the mansion, and you'll see this beautiful Italian villa.
Wow.
That I will be there. I work a full day, so I will start about noon and then usually finish up about 8 or 9 o'clock at the Anchorage Mansion. But that one you do have to sign up ahead of time at hiddenmarietta.com to reserve a spot, whereas at the Lafayette Hotel is first come, first serve. So I suggest you get there early and grab a spot. And I believe you're going to be parking. You might be parking around the back there because that place does get a little bit busy, and it is right on the river, and it is beautiful.
How do you handle this scenario? Now, you show up at one of these locations, you
Mm-hmm.
sit down, people are coming to you because people want their portrait taken too.
Mm-hmm.
Not only do you do portraits of spirit, but someone, I know people that have probably like I've had my portrait painted by Angela Bolee. Um, so now you've got these paying customers that come to you.
Mhm.
They've paid. They're going to visit you and get a reading and get their portrait taken. Now you have all these spirits too that are
Mhm.
waiting in line to have their portrait taken. How do you organize the living and the dead and the pain and the non-pain?
Well, what I do is I ask um, the angels that are with me to organize the spirits and the people to kind of control that on their end, on their side, and that works out great because people will come up, they will feel drawn to me, so they'll come up and they're sent, and there'll be a reading that their spirit will come forward, and I will go ahead and do that spirit's portrait. And at the end, sometimes there are people like, but you're closing up, and I still, I'm sorry, you'll have to
I
go to my
know,
website,
yeah.
But it does work out to the point where, okay, exactly who needs to see me for that moment or that time. I know that at the Anchorage Mansion, I had one that got in unscheduled. They said, "I'll go ahead, even in my lunch. I'll set aside my lunch. I'll come and do a reading." And I did her portrait. I did the reading for her and a spirit portrait for her. But I also felt like I had to do this energy work. So I went to the behind her, and I asked that the spirit energy come through me and help cleanse her energy. And I felt this pulsing, and you could even see the distortion. There was like these energy rings. They were coming out in rings, and he was pulsing all over wherever it was touching. And she had a chronic neck condition that was painful all of her whole life, and it was instantly gone. And not only that, earlier the dress that she couldn't fit in, she went back, picked up the dress, and she could fit in it. And her personality completely changed. She came in very solemn, weighed down. And after that, she was completely cheerful, extremely happy, and had this brand new outlook at life. And I felt like that was spirit led. Like I was prompted to make sure to make this exception and to do this energy work as well. And that the spirit just channeled through me and whatever healing that the Holy Spirit needed for her to come through. And it happened. And changed person. I'm just so amazed that this came through and this healing came through for her that she needed.
That's great. I've got how much time? Well, I have to say goodbye to you in a few minutes, but I know I'm going to get hate mail again because I've got several questions I didn't get to. I have a couple of personal questions I'm going to try and squeeze in here before we go because they're just I can't get them off my mind. One was we talked about the animals a little bit earlier, um, and I've had several friends this week lose their pets, and I know they're terribly sad over it. I want you to address spirit animals, and if animals go to heaven, if they remain with us, um, and how one can try to work on getting over it because sometimes the sadness from losing a pet is so debilitating. Um, and then I also want to address the guardian angel for people who don't believe that they're real. So spirit animals, guardian angels, and I believe many spirit animals act like guardian angels, but
Yes.
address the spirit animals and guardian angels, and then I'm probably going to have to kick you out of here.
Now, spirit animals, I've experienced that firsthand. I have lost pets that were very dear for me, and they have reappeared to me. I know the first dog that I had that passed away, I was feeling very down and depressed about him leaving, and then all of a sudden, I felt him not only walk in the room, but I heard his feet on the hardwood floor walking across the floor, and I heard him lay down. And I'm like, and I felt this peace come over me, and I'm laying there, and I'm okay. I feel like going to sleep. Wait a minute, he's passed away. He can't be here, and he showed up in my dreams. So they're there, but for a long time he wasn't, and I think they go through the same process as we do. They pass, they cross over, and a lot of times they cross over quickly because they don't have the same hangups that we do, and they recognize from their perspective from heaven they still have that love connection, so they can come back and comfort us. And it's my experience has been that you go through the grief, you do cry, and you regularly pour out your grief to heaven in prayer. You cry, you leave out something, some sort of memorial for your pet as you're doing this. And that's, I found very comforting. You put out a candle, you may put out their favorite dog treat or their favorite toy, and you sit it there and you look at it and you remind it every day and you cry and you just pour it out to God. And then you'll get that comfort from heaven because they hear that prayer and heaven honors that love connection. They come. And I had another pet pass away, Molly the collie, and she just passed away suddenly. I mean, she just fell over dead. And about 5 or 6 months later, she appeared to me in the dream, and I held her again, and it was so real. I got to hold her again, and it was just such a wonderful healing experience. And then she visits me, and Rusty, her brother, visits me also. Sometimes they come through together, and they're always there. They let me know. I ask her for a sign, and she's always good to send a sign. For example, one day I was out walking, and I see another collie standing out in the field that the woman was holding by a leash. And I said, show me a sign. If this collie is, and you can see each other, have the collie refuse to move until I pet him. And that's exactly what he did. He refused to move, and the collie insisted that I pet him before he would go home. So absolutely, they listen to us. Heaven listens to us.
One last quick thing here. Are guardian angels real?
100% they're real.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, you can ask them to interact with you, and they will. But that interaction is hard for people that aren't gifted to recognize sometimes. They hear that voice in their head and they think it's just their own thoughts, when really it's the guardian angel that's prompting them and prompting those thoughts. You can even ask your guardian angel, send me a dream, send some sort of interaction. And the most common one I've seen from my guardian angel have been dreams where my guardian angel appears in full armor and he's standing there with a sword. And if his sword is drawn, I know he's on guard for me. If the sword is upright, then I know there's a spiritual attack going on. Then I need to be aware of, and I need to put myself in spiritual war mode, because he's put himself in spiritual war mode. And he's letting me know that he's there protecting me, that he's got my back.
That's beautiful. Angela, I love you. I respect you. I can't wait till we do this again. Did you have fun? Will you come back?
Absolutely. Yes to both questions. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being here. I want you to have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful remainder to your Friday and the rest of your hot, humid weekend. Stay safe, and I'll be in touch, okay?
All right. God
All
bless.
right, Angela. I'll see you later.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I love Angela. She's so cool. Talented, gifted, all of the above. Check her out. Angela Bowley, psychic portrait artist. You'll find her. Check her out. Okay. Remember, you can find me now at Lawrence Morace, Lawrence, Morace, Morace, Shawn Patrick Whittington, in parentheses after that name. That's my new Facebook profile. God bless you all for being here. I will be here. This is going to be a big Monday. We've been waiting all month. Monday, the 31st. Happy Medium Monday with the one and only Happy Medium, live from Cape Cod. Susan Ahern will be here this Monday. Free live on-air psychic readings. Get your questions ready. Tune in live. Type your questions into the chat room so you'll get your reading. Okay.
Hey, I know that we're running out of time, but when she comes on Monday, do you just want to take a guess at what weird direction we're going to take the pre-show? You notice with her, the last couple times that she's come on, our pre-show has gone like really, really awry. I mean, off on weird tangents, food and
who knows?
well, I'm not going to talk about some of the other things we talked about, but
who knows?
So
Who knows? I
I
couldn't
was,
tell you. With everything that's been going on, I couldn't tell you. I had no clue.
I'm really looking forward to that one. So
I am too. I miss Susan. It's been a while. USOCC.org. USOCC.org. BishopJamesLong.com. BishopJamesLong.com. That's my bishop. That's my church or his church that I belong to. If you're interested in that. If you're interested in Bible study, it's Wednesday and Sunday afternoons at 5 p.m. Pacific. You can get the link to that. That's usually also on Facebook Live on the United States Old Catholic Church Clergy and Parishioners Facebook page. You can catch Bible study there. Night prayer is Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific on Spreaker. The link to that is on one of those websites. You can find the night prayer link. Community, pay it forward. I want to make sure I get this right. Zach, I lost the piece of paper that has your website on it. Where do you want people to go to check your stuff out?
well, I just put it down here on the bottom. Switch now to the PAC channel on Facebook, or you can find it on Twitter, or even in.
But you have another one.
YouTube.
It's community something.
Communitypayitforward.us. Right.
Where did that go? I had that here.
I don't know.
It's
here. Probably like everything else. You just lost it in the wind.
Oh
but gosh. Switch over to the PAC channel now and watch Footprints Forward. You can check out that veterinarian and learn quite a bit about mental health.
Very, very cool. Very, very cool. Thank you to Zach and Adrian Clayton for producing my show, my co-producers. I couldn't do it without them. Everybody's asking about Eli Roth Presents the Legion of Exorcists still, where they can watch it. It's streaming now on Discovery Plus and Max, and you can buy the complete season 1 for like $10 at Amazon Prime Video. Thank you to Things Network. Thank you to Temple of Phoenix Rising Entertainment. Thank you to Skeleton Key Network. Thank you to Pact, little P, capital ACT, Podcasting for All Coming Together channel for all of those networks simulcasting my show. God bless you for that. And it is bad joke time. I'm going to pull a bad joke that one of you sent in out of this haunted carnival barker hat. And it's my way of trying to put a smile on everybody's face before I say good night. What do elves learn in school? The alphabet. Listen, if you see me on the street and I'm talking to myself, just move along. We're having a team meeting. Good night, Danny. Good night, Jack. Good night, Dog. Good night, Harold. Rest in peace. Good night, Ernie. Good night, Bill. Good night, Dan. God bless you all. I love you all. Peace.